What's going on, guys? Welcome to Looking Ahead to Beto Days. I am Chris,
And I'm Ryan.
and we have a pretty ridiculous episode that we have here for you guys today. We have a pretty big guest in our
Yeah.
eyes. We have Beto O'Rourke. We have an exclusive interview that Ryan did with him. I mean, we're at a coffee shop somewhere.
Creperie, actually, a creperie out in Katy. You
Oh well,
you might be able to hear the French in the background.
yeah, and I'm just it's this fantastic conversation that we're gonna
Yes.
make you wait until the very end of the episode to listen to. So we're gonna talk about how great it
So
is
you have to
now,
listen to our voices all the way through it. I'm sorry, guys. No,
and it's literally just gonna be 20 minutes of us singing "I'm Never Gonna Give You Up." No, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna jump right into.
We're not gonna rickroll you that badly. No.
Oh man, that my wife rickrolled me in her vows. So props to Hannah. She got me good. She made me, dude. She threatened me so bad with everything, and then she rickrolled me in her vows. But moving on to impeachment. Today was the first day of the trial of Donald J. Trump, and it started exactly how you'd think it would. Mitch McConnell
A
putting
circus
out
clown. Yeah,
a
it's a
fucking circus, man.
The clown show.
Yeah, basically, Mitch McConnell put out the rules in this resolution last night, and he was like limiting the trial to 2 days. They were going to go from 1 a.m. to 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. So it was at night. You know, he actually like hand wrote some of the changes that he was forced to make on it, which apparently is super uncharacteristic of Mitch McConnell. So it started out like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine the way the rest of that went. So basically they were giving arguments for witnesses and evidence and all of that stuff. And basically, the Trump lawyers are like the lawyers you would get in a really, really, really bad, like, deal. They're like the lawyers you would get in an Ed Wood movie. They have that quality of lawyer skill. And I say that
They're not
loving
even
Ed
trying.
Wood
In
movies.
other words, yeah.
No, not at
It's
all.
it's just a, oh, we can do this because we're allowed to.
Exactly. Like somebody is giving us money and and at one point in time, Scipione, dude said that like he lied. Blatantly lied. He said that the fucking Democrats said that the Republicans couldn't come into the skiffs, which wasn't true, and some of them actually went in. So Adam Schiff kind of like played it off. He said that Scipione had misspoke, and so Schiff knew what he was doing. Schiff is a genius. That man is just he was on fire. Him and Hakeem Jeffries absolutely lit the GOP on fire. They're gonna have to sell their souls to vote against this one. It's an open and shut case, Johnson. It's pretty.
Since when has that ever mattered?
Exactly. It's not going to matter, and it's going to be
Unfortunately,
unfortunate.
that's the reality of the situation. Is that you're right. Like, what are they going to do next? They're going to vote to whether or not to have witnesses. Right? That's still up in the air.
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen.
Whether actually
and,
John Bolton's actually ever going to come out and testify.
Yeah.
It seems like the majority still want that. I guess. I mean,
he's trying to sell books. It's good for show. He's not actually going to do it.
I mean, who knows? But who knows what's going to actually end up happening? I don't know. I've been taking a very distant approach to it and trying not to get wrapped up into the day-to-day about it because you're right. It's just going to end up being a clown show and it's going to make me mad.
Yeah, and
at
I
the end
know.
of the day, this is going to be such a predictable result. And, what we're going to end up with is people like, well, we're going to
they're going to say, see, he did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how that's going to go, and that's kind of unfortunate for all
But
involved.
at least the Democrats are doing the right thing
Yes, you have to do
But
the
they're
right thing,
making the
even if somebody else
case.
isn't.
And you know what? At the end of the day, someone like John Cornyn, who we're trying to vote out down here. He's going to have to answer for, well, why don't you believe in enough due process in the case that you wouldn't vote for witnesses? That's going to be a serious question that someone who, especially him, who's supposed to be branding himself not as like a Cruz type, who's sort of like an outside political maverick. That
Hmm.
brand. Okay, that's not necessarily who he is, but that's the brand he likes to run with. Whereas Cornyn has always been kind of viewed as more of an old school conservative who's supposed to believe in shit like that. Like it will matter when it starts voting, and that's really what I'm hoping uh, will come of this. Is that it'll help weaken the Senate cases, but I think any hope that it's going to end up with Trump removed from office is probably a pretty far fetched fantasy.
Oh yeah, at this point, for
Yeah.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
So
And he's an absolute menace up there. He went and
it's
embarrassed himself in Davos, and people are gonna listen to this and they're gonna say whatever. But I
yeah.
mean, it's a shit show at this point. I mean, it's
It is.
embarrassing.
No, we're
You
gonna
know,
have to
I'm
vote him out. At the end of the day, I think it's just gonna take having to vote him out.
it's going to be a requiem on the American people, and
Mm-hmm.
what happens after that is what happens after that. We have to move on and make things better and pick up the pieces. And
Yes.
Virginia is in the process of making things better. Virginia is where I live, and
Right.
I tell, and it comes up quite a few times, that Virginia is for the first time in 26 years completely blue. A lot of that
Yes.
had to do with the work of Beto in Virginia, and because of that, we are getting common sense gun control, and they got rid of Lee Jackson Day, are making Election Day a holiday, just common sense kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I bring this up, other than Beto is just he did so much here. It's amazing how much better I feel living in Virginia, knowing that we did something.
I know we're working here,
Which
but
we're
still
going to
got a
get to
ways
a
to
little bit
go.
later in the show, actually. But I wanted to bring up Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
Richmond is the capital of Virginia, and there were protests that were planned, and I have nothing against anybody who is there protesting peacefully using their rights. We had people on the right, people on the left. If you did that responsibly and you did what you were supposed to do, I'm all on board. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, whether I agree with your opinion or not, that's not for me to agree with. That's not that. I mean, it's you. We don't have to do that for us to be able to sit and have an equal conversation. And that's something I've learned from working with the Beto campaign. But that's not where this stopped. They were busing in militia groups from all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Jones showed up in an armored truck, and I can't fucking stand that guy.
Nobody
I
can stand
cannot
that guy. I
fucking
hope
stand
this
that
goes
guy.
bankrupt.
I'm
Ugh,
pulling for those Sandy Hook parents because they deserve
me
that.
too. Every
What he
penny of
did to
it,
them was abysmal.
and take down
And
that fool in the process.
exactly,
Like
if they could,
yeah.
I want to see him. I would love for him to just be a footnote. And I teach. I'm with kids every single day. My kids are my kids. I have Bodie at home, but I also have my kids. And, my first core today, we spent 30 to 40 minutes sitting on the floor because of a threat that went online.
Mm-hmm.
And that shut down the entire school. And, I'm sitting on the floor and I'm listening to everything, and I'm telling my kids, guys, it's good. Everything's okay. It sounds like they have everything under control. And somewhere in there, we should be able to come together. I don't care
I
whether
don't
you're
know.
pro-gun
Yeah.
or anti-gun. We've got to be able to come together, because sitting terrified on the floor with 27 kids, it's not what anybody wants to do with their day. Let me leave it at that.
No, I totally agree. And I think it's something that's really like hitting home to a lot of people now. It's, this has somehow become a new norm, which, for our kids is not something we really want, so I don't know. It's something's got to change And I'm pretty sure the solution is not more guns.
No, not even a little bit. And you hear people make that argument, and that upsets me. And let me be clear: we were safe. The threat was just somebody being, just a kid being a kid on social media. But not everybody's that lucky at all. And it's still this is we've had a few of these, and imagine being like my wife. It drives her nuts. She knows where my room is. She knows my ways in and out. She doesn't even work at the school. She barely comes up there, but she knows this stuff. Mostly because she went to the middle school that I teach in, but that's neither here nor there. But it's still something that weighs on our families. And I'm a fucking teacher. I teach children U.S. history, and I teach them how to be people, and I teach them, how to be citizens and how to stand up for what you believe in and to do something. And if you see something, say something. And if you don't like something, do something the fuck about it. And to be stuck in this space where you feel so vulnerable is upsetting. It's a school. It's a fucking school, man.
No, I hear you.
Get out of here with that bullshit. These motherfuckers rolling out there with barrettes. Are you serious? What are you trying to... are they taking down fucking Star Destroyers? Seriously? Ugh. Ugh. And I have family that went up there and protested with the pro gun people, and that's fine. More power to you. I wanted to go for the anti, the gun control, common sense gun control people. But this kind of stuff that we had that was coming down in threats and in newspapers here was just absolutely obscene.
That's the problem with the conversation is you can't seem to have the conversation without people legitimately start making death threats to you.
But that's the thing. It's not even the responsible people.
Yeah.
It's these fringe groups. They arrested some guy from Canada who was here illegally. A Canadian who was here illegally as a white supremacist. He came here he's a white supremacist group. He was trying to start an insurrection where he was going to shoot and kill people in Richmond. Now tell me all the crime comes from the southern border. Yeah. Get out of here with that shit. That dude was a fucking terrorist. He came from Canada.
And can we say again that this kind of bullshit did not used to happen? I don't remember us having white supremacist rallies out in the open like this, 10 years ago.
It's
not like this, not like, mass protests. It's something's got to change.
We need some real change, and that is what we're trying to do, and that brings us directly to the Beto effect. And Ryan, what do I mean by the Beto effect? I have another name for it. I'll save it because I'm gonna make it stick. I promise. I've been saying this for months. Go ahead. What is the Beto effect?
What is? No, I want to hear what your other word is first. Hold on.
Oh,
what is it?
Betoism.
Oh, Betoism, of course.
Betoism, getting people up, getting people out. The belief that we are all should be involved in our democracy and all of that. Betoism. It's a belief we can all share and buy into. Betoism. Buy the shirt.
So now we got to make the shirt for them to buy it.
Right.
So over the last couple of weekends, Beto's been getting people up off of the couch and out and walking around and block walking for a very special election. So we have a House district runoff. I think I mentioned this last time. We had Dr. Eliz Merkowitz on, who was came on and basically gave his little interview and talked about it. And Beto got involved with her and got people out to start block walking, and that's really what. Sorry?
And you guys fucking killed it.
Yeah.
The early voting was just stupid.
Yeah, it was. So I don't know the final number of how many doors we walked or knocked on. We're even doing one more push this weekend. Early voting starting today. So today is the first day of early voting. We're recording on a Tuesday. So next Tuesday is the actual election day. We try and get people to vote early here, just because it's easier. You don't have to worry about lines, and that way you can fit with your schedule more if you can't make it that Tuesday for whatever reason. So yeah, we were out, had a lot of people out, knocking on doors, trying to get people out to vote. Really proving that a get out to vote effort makes a difference, and trying to prove that people can outweigh money. This election was kind of a big one. At least it's been seen as a bellwether for, especially in Texas, since this is a relatively reliably red district. And a lot of Republicans started getting involved in pouring money into it. I think Abbott, through our governor Greg Abbott, threw something like $25,000 into it or something like that.
Yeah, he's been doing some stuff because
and doing some consistent fundraising too. He's been sending out a lot of emails on this.
Well, he's been doing a lot of tweeting too because he's evoked Beto's name a couple of times, right? No, they're scared when he comes up.
Beto has become somewhat of the boogeyman here in Texas. Any Republican,
I fucking love it, man,
who sends out a fundraising email, make sure to warn people about Beto, and they make sure to bring up his gun stance and his stance on taxing churches, and I think it was a stance on abortion. And they make sure they bring those three things. I'm like, okay, those are three things I am okay Beto being known for,
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So,
Jesus.
But on the other side, it's really gotten a lot of people to come out and support, the candidate. Dr. Eliz Merkowitz, she's awesome. I've told a couple of people of this time, I started going out there and block walking and working with them just because that's what Beto said to do. The more I got to watch her, the more I've been around Eliz. Like, she's just such an awesome person. I want to do this for her now because she's killing it. And if she's listening, thank you for just bringing this all together, Dr. Markowitz, for having such great supporters that opened their home for us, and thank you so much for that. And it was great just meeting everybody, and you did awesome. So I can't speak highly enough of her. Anyways, so yeah, just getting everybody together for this awesome candidate. And that's what kind of Beto did. That's what he's kind of about. And we talked about this at length in his interview. And, I think that's kind of what keeps bringing people back, is this kind of sense of community and belonging that, it's not about Beto. It's about, like, you join this group of people who are... It's
like a fraternity of just people who came together. And I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like it's just, no matter what I know, I was like, there are people out there who, because I've met through this, I'm always going to be friends. It has not necessarily anything to do with Beto. Why I'm friends. Like, I'm friends with you. I consider I would be friends with you for a while, regardless of Beto.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We talk all the time about random shit, not even just podcast stuff.
Exactly.
And that's, me and him would have never met had it never been through Beto and this whole movement. And like, that's the thing. Like, I wasn't that guy. Like, I didn't get involved with shit until Beto. I didn't do anything. I bitched on Twitter.
Yeah,
that was the extent of it. And Beto really got me up and got me involved, and that changed my perspective on everything.
It definitely having this community of people that's around you and supporting you. I mean, I've volunteered for other campaigns, and sometimes it felt like you're just, they're just using and abusing you, and there's not really that same sense of, like, community that, everybody comes together and genuinely cares and wants to support each other. And I think that's why I found, I think the last weekend, our numbers were down just a little bit on Sunday morning. So Beto said, okay, everybody, we just need to dig a little deeper and grab an extra list. And I find myself not necessarily wanting to do it because that's what Beto said. It's like, no, I need to top my numbers. I started accounting for myself and, like, how many doors I've been doing. It's like, no, I can do a few bit more. And, looking around at the people who have been working, and some of them working harder than me. And that's really what drove me more, was that, people around me were putting in the effort. And so having that community and that group around you, I think, who's really like-minded and like-spirited, that really means a lot, I think.
I agree. And it's just that drive, and that whole community pushes you harder and harder. Just we all push each other and look after each other. We all still talked and we looked in on each other after the campaign ended. And as soon as, Powered by People shot up, we all got involved. And there was this really great story out of one of the I guess your block walking is what they call it, where
do they call it something different in Virginia?
I have no idea. We just we knock on doors.
Okay.
Block walking sounds better. I couldn't tell you if they call it here or not. I could be completely wrong. But it is what it is. Anyways, you got to interview Amatola.
I did.
And she was it her first time block walking or something like that?
I don't think it was her first time, but she was still very new at it. Because I don't think the first. So for those who don't know, she was kind of semi-featured in one of Beto's live streams recently.
Yeah, she was all over Twitter, and the kind of the tweets and stuff that we were reading about some of what she said really inspired us, and we really wanted to have her on. So That's what we did.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and bring her on?
All right, we're gonna bring Amatola on now.
I'm here with a very special guest. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Right. My name is Amatula, and I'm just basically a supporter, volunteer here.
Yeah, we're out here by Powered by People. You were one of the people.
Yeah.
So you are powering this thing. So tell us your story. Like, where are you from? Were you from the area? Like, how did you get involved with this?
So I live in, I don't live in this district, but I live in Katy, so I'm somewhere nearby. How I got involved, I actually met Eliz at an event once, and I was just completely fascinated by this woman. She's so energetic and compassionate. And from there on, I started seeing her more often, and I started learning more about her, and just why she's running and why this race is so important. And it just made me realize that this is where you need to be, right? You're down for the movement, and this is where you gotta be. So
you actually came in with Eliz, and then started kind of.
So I've canvassed with Eliz once before, and I've been meaning to come out, and I think that Beto being here is just a greater motivation for me to just come out here. Yeah.
Right. Get a little star power. You get to hear him speak, and I had some great speakers today. I was really impressed with the people.
Right, Commissioner Hightower. That was amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So I heard you because Twitter universe loved you on you made an appearance on Beto's live stream. You talked about anxiety. How I know. So I say this story. I'm an introvert by nature, which is crazy because I do a podcast. You wouldn't think those are compatible, but it somehow works out. But yeah, it definitely is. Beto inspired me to get out of my shell and come and knock on doors and talk to random strangers at events. So, how has this helped you as far as overcoming your anxiety, or what has been your strategy to overcome your anxiety?
So, actually, it was something that I struggled with for a long time, where I saw what was happening with Beto's Senate campaign, and I wanted to go out and be a part of it because it was a movement, and movements are just by nature so inspiring. Right. And I had so much anxiety where I would get ready, but then I just wouldn't leave the house to go out and do something. And I think one day I just forced myself out, where I sat in my car for 30 minutes, and then I finally made it out to a Beto rally. And from there I met so many people came up to me, and I think that really helped me break out of my shell, that from there on I knew that these are the people I'm going to be seeing at other events, so I always knew I had people I knew there, which was always very reassuring. And then I never got to meet Beto until the launch of his presidential campaign.
Okay.
And I remember I had a mission where I was I need to meet this guy. I was I got to get there. And I don't know how I did it. Honestly, it was like an adrenaline rush because I don't even remember how I got there. I just remember navigating the crowds, and I looked in front of me, and Beto was like smiling at me. And in that moment, it was amazing because everyone was trying to like grab his arm and like try to talk to him, but he didn't like move his attention from me even once, where he like gave me his 100%, even though there were like 10,000 people trying to get his attention.
That's better,
yeah, and it was like something like that where I was like, I want to do this more because he deserves like our 100% effort if he can give us that, which is when I started getting out and just being so involved. And every moment, like even like every morning, I'm kind of like, should I go, should I not go? But I'm like, I gotta go because like, you know, he's done so much to get us to where we are at this point just by speaking, honestly. So this is the least we can do, where we can be his helping hands to help get the message further.
So what was it like walking with Beto?
It was a dream. I couldn't like breathe in the beginning because I was like, is this actually happening, where I'm sitting in the car? And then one of my friends saw me on the live stream, and she quickly messaged me and was like, you're sitting in the same truck that was on the Vanity Fair cover. And I was like, oh yeah, I am. I'm sitting on that truck. And so yeah, he was so genuine. The thing is, one of the best things he did in the beginning was, I was so nervous, where he was trying to like learn my name, so it's a little difficult, but he actually put so much effort into like learning it, and then it got like easier, where it was like it was really nice. And then I started off like really slow, where I didn't say a word the entire car ride. But then, like, so many things were popping into my head where I was like, no, Beto, you have to do this. And so having anxiety has, like, some of its perks. So, like, going into a conversation, I can never just go into this conversation without knowing anything. So I'm very, like, hyper-vigilant about my surroundings, etc. So I would, like, go up to him by the door and be like, oh, this license plate says that this person's a veteran, this person is a police officer, etc. And he would be like, okay, yeah, cool. So then, you know, like, that way you address them in a different way.
Right.
Or to talk about something different. And so, yeah, he was really nice. He was really receptive, which I was like, I mean, that's the block walking expert, and I'm sitting there giving him, like, unsolicited advice, but he was still so, like, nice about it, where he was like, okay, yeah, thanks for the tips, like, I'm going to do this and stuff. And yeah, and the best part was like the best door we knocked on, I think early on, and that just completely like lifted my spirits, which was Miriam's door, when she was so ecstatic.
Yeah, we all saw that.
And I was like, that's how we all feel inside, and like she has the courage to like show him, and he was so like delighted, and I think that all of our moods, just like that experience just made the entire block walking shift just like so easy and amazing, and we were all like in lifted spirits.
So just what kind of, you personally, when you've gone out, not with Beto, because Beto's special, obviously, but just out in general, what kind of reception have you been getting in general with the people around here?
Typically, people have been really nice. Even I knocked on a few doors where maybe one voter is a Democrat, but then their Republican family member answers the door, and they were just like, sorry, we're voting Republican. No one's been rude to me in any way, thank God. Everyone's been actually really great with me. It's a little nerve-wracking to talking to new people, but I think like the first couple doors are the hardest, but then it gets better, and once I like got my script in and I know what to say and how to receive them, it's all great.
Well, so thank you very much for talking with me. It's so great.
Thanks for interviewing.
So,
this whole experience has been so unbelievable. I did not expect this.
So we'll keep doing this because we got a lot of work. I mean, this is just race one, and I mean, I was talking to him. He's already got the next one lined up in DFW area. So
wow, okay, so we got to make the drive this time further.
We'll make the drive, but we'll figure it out. We'll get logistics and everything figured out. So
great.
We're taking the show on the road. So.
It was great talking to
you.
Thank you.
Much. Have a good one. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, thank you for continuing to do these interviews. And you like how I waited for you to say, and bring her on now, and then I did my own? That was just a mess with you.
You can go back and cut that out in editing.
You know me. I don't like to edit anything
exactly.
out.
Just like you're not going to cut this part out either.
And exactly. I like to leave it for the people. People like banter. People love banter. And right now the banter is just...
Who wants a clean show? Like, who wants a well-produced show? That's not what you come here for. No.
You come here for the nonsense. You don't give a shit about the politics. You're here for the nonsense. Okay, so before we get into the interview with Beto, which I know you are all just dying to hear, because I'm telling you, it's a good one. They did a really... Brian did a stand-up job, and the answers are really thoughtful and thought-provoking, and the questions were just as good. But he has this new initiative called Powered by People. And Ryan, what is Powered by People?
Well, Beto does a much better job of. He's way more elegant than I am, so he'll describe it much better. But yeah, basically, it's his new organization, his new PAC that's going to be getting involved in Texas statewide races. Just trying to jump in and see where they can help and help swing some of these critical states or critical swing state districts. We're only 9 seats. Well, after Eliz gets elected, will be 8 seats from flipping the Texas State House, which is pretty critical this year because it's a 2020 redistricting year. We're also not that far from flipping the Senate either, so there's other races that we can get involved in. And really, it's just going to be trying to bring people together and, really do what we can ultimately, because that's really, he does a much better job of describing this, but you focus on the local races, you focus on the small places where you can get involved and make an impact, and those kind of things have a way of trickling up, and that's how you can flip a state like the size of Texas blue. He didn't get that 2.7. He didn't get that close with the Senate race by, just doing a bunch of media and not really caring about the local stuff. No, he did. He got that by doing exactly what he's doing now. And I think this is kind of where he wants to be. I mean, he really seems to be enjoying himself. He's out there. He's revitalized. He walks every shift. And I mean, I'll say this, the leaders all sell, the best leaders you follow by example, and he leads by example. He walks every shift. He knocks every door, like legitimately knocks every door. He'll have people along, they'll vouch for him. Like, he doesn't slack off. He's not like some of these politicians who come in, knock a couple of doors for the cameras and then leave. No, he puts in the work, and I think that's what he likes to do and what he wants to do. Without basically getting to be part of the fight without having to deal with the bullshit.
Yeah, that's
the best way to put it, I guess. It's
right. The bullshit's a lot, and I can see how that would weigh on somebody.
Yeah, I
wouldn't want to put up with that.
He still has a great pull. He still has great.
Yeah, I would have said fuck way sooner. By the way, it took him a while. I would have said I'd have been saying fuck in like February. As a point of reference.
Exactly.
Oh man. Carry on.
So yeah, like I think he's he's doing what he wants to do, which is being involved, bringing people together. Still in the fight. The issues that are still there. So we have to be in this fight. Not having to worry quite as much about the campaign or the messaging and all that. He can just do what he loves, which is be with supporters, be with people, and make a difference. And I think that's what we're trying to do out here, is make a difference.
I can tell you guys are making news. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm hearing about you in Virginia, so don't undervalue or undersell what you guys are doing. You guys are fucking shit up out there, man.
We'll see. I mean, early election results are solid. They're this is always good. This election is going to be a turnout election. So I'm sorry, this special election. It's going to be entirely based on turnout. So we're still involved here. We're doing another weekend of action next weekend, and then right up until election day. So it's going to be a final push to the end. We'll see what happens. I don't think there's anything that I could say that would be a disappointing result, honestly. But at the end of the day, seeing so many people out there, so many good people from all over the state who care. Or all over the country. I mean, we had someone coming in from Spain. Let me tell you.
Jeez.
So just all over the world, come in and be there for that. I think that's something special, and no matter what, something good will always come out of that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the results.
I bet you should be.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to him as well. Well, with that, we're going to let Ryan introduce the Beto O'Rourke interview.
Well, here's the Beto O'Rourke interview.
So you kind of had some time to, rest, relax. It's been about a little over 2 months now since you dropped out. So, had a chance to reflect on what happened. So, what happened?
Why did we drop out of the presidential race?
Well, just in general, what happened. Not necessarily the decision to drop out specifically, but if you kind of take the whole context of the campaign, I kind of break it up in kind of like pre-El Paso and post-El Paso. But even with that, taking the entire context, what happened?
I think that's a thoughtful division if you're looking at the campaign. Look, I had this extraordinary opportunity to run for president, and got to do so with an amazing team. People who were formally on my team, they're paid a salary, they have a position, they're in the hierarchy of the campaign, and then people who were not paid, who were of their own volition doing their part, you included, and you met the Road Warriors, or you probably met them before, but
I'm an inaugural member, actually.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome. And here are folks who never asked for permission or for forgiveness, or even for direction from the campaign, or they may have, and the campaign may have not have been able to provide it because it is such a large, sprawling, multi-state organization, and just. That part just as powerful and just as beautiful as the people who moved across the country to headquarter themselves in El Paso and helped to lead this effort. And so I think I had the opportunity to share a vision for the country. Here's what I'd like to see America do. Here's what I think we are capable of. And whether it is meeting a really ambitious goal for how we confront climate change, or reducing gun violence in this country significantly, not half steps, not half measures, and also trying to do all these things without just half the country. Talk to and listen to everyone. Guy just approached me in this cafe that we're in right now, where we're recording this, and he stopped me. He really disagrees with me on guns, on AR-15s and AK-47s, and he wanted the chance to tell me that. But I thought there was something in his tone. It was very civil. He said, I really appreciate, Beto, that you're bringing this stuff up. I appreciate the way that you're doing it. I just want you to know that I disagree with you for the following reasons. And he wanted to really get into it there, not in an ugly way at all. And really, before we could go too much deeper into the conversation, in order to be able to talk with you, Cynthia came over and said, hey, I got to get this guy out of here.
But no, there does seem to be that willingness to engage in civil dialogue. I mean, just when we're out block walking, if you knock on a Republican's door, they generally say thank you, and they, in some cases, can be very friendly about it. And,
Absolutely.
You get a few doors slammed in your face, but most of them are very friendly, and, they want you engaged. They like the fact that people engage. Yeah.
So, I mean, all that was extremely positive. The people with whom I got to work, the ideas that we got to present, the way in which we campaigned, trying to go to the unlikely places, going to a place like Forest, Mississippi, right? Or going to Little Rock, Arkansas, or going to Black Wall Street, Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as well as the places you might expect to find a presidential candidate, New Hampshire and Iowa and South Carolina. So really powerful, very positive experience. Ultimately, we ran out of time and money, just like the Creedence Clearwater Revival song. But I did not lose my friends.
No, your friends are still here. Absolutely, we're still here for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so we just didn't have. Ultimately, we faced a decision. Look, do we go? This is at the end of October, November 1st, actually. Do we go forward with a very small fraction of our current team? At which point you really have to wonder if we're already having a hard time raising money, raising our profile in the polls in order to qualify for debates, in order to be in contention in Iowa, is cutting off the best part of this operation, the team members that were working so hard for me, and basically going it solo. Is that going to work? And I just reached this very painful conclusion that it was not possible to continue. And so you're right. We've been now 2 months outside of that decision, and now really focused on what I think I can do best, other than running as a candidate, and that is getting behind these other great candidates.
Yeah, so let's talk about that then. You dropped out and took some time to reflect. When did you decide that, okay, what my next step is, and that, when did you kind of come to that realization?
There was definitely a moment for me where I wanted to have nothing more to do with any of this. No more politics. No more campaigning, no more public life, no more civic engagement. I gave was kind of my attitude at the moment, right? Like,
you left it all on the field.
Yeah, I had supported campaigns since I was a little kid. I had, been lucky and started a successful small business and then run for office in 2005 for the city council. I'd run for Congress, served in Congress, run for Senate, and run this race for the presidency. Yeah. Okay, I'm done. Amy, we did our part. And Amy, my wife, said, hey, every reason we had for getting in this in the first place, the treatment of asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexico border, the caging of kids, the fact that 6 children have died in our custody and care, the fact that you have people who are crowdfunding their insulin treatment for diabetes in the year 2020 in the United States of America, all that shit is still going on in this country. And in fact, it is arguably much worse today than it was when we first started thinking about it. So, look, perhaps we're not going to be able to be a candidate, but there's got to be some other role that we can play to help stop Trump and Trumpism in this country, and then to move forward on the things that we're really excited about, that we want our kids to be able to enjoy when they come of age. A country where you don't have to beg for health care, a country where immigrants are welcome, a country that's decided it's going to confront climate change before it's too late, a country that's going to radically reduce gun violence and stop the slaughter that we see in our communities and throughout the country. And that got us thinking about, well, if we're not the candidate, what is our value? And our value, coming back to the beginning of our conversation, is the people that we've had the luck to be able to work with, these road warriors who inducted you recently into their order. These amazing volunteers that you had a chance to meet and walk with last weekend. I heard you talking about the person that you paired up with on your block walking. She's a second-generation American from Colombia. Yeah. You all were a team, and you guys knocked it out of the park. You ranked in the top 10 of 400 people who knocked on doors that weekend. Amy and I realized that's our value. We're connected to all these amazing people. What if we could bring them all together behind candidates that we're excited about? Okay. What if in the process of doing that we could help to change Texas so that you have a Democratic-led state house ahead of redistricting, so that you have a chance to organize on a statewide basis and maybe, just maybe, help whoever the Democratic nominee is against Donald Trump in Texas win the 38 electoral college votes in the state. Right. From that conversation was born Powered by People, which is the organization that's now working on the Eliz Markowitz race. And I listened to your interview with her from your last podcast, which was so good. I mean, the energy that she has comes through in your interview.
She's just a firecracker.
She's radiating nonstop.
I love it.
As well as learning from Chris more about the sign-stealing scandal from the Astros, and getting to hear you all talk about sports a little bit at the outset. But it's the door knocking, right? It's the canvassing. It's the fact that we knocked on 12,040 doors last week. But it's also this: hanging out together, drinking a cup of coffee or a beer, or getting to know somebody you otherwise would not have met, and now becoming friends forever going forward. Yeah. To me, that's beautiful. And there's a magic and a power to that we can only begin to appreciate, which, if applied to saving our democracy at its moment of truth, we all get to be heroes, right? And so that's why I'm in, and that's why we started this, and that's why you and I are back in Fort Bend County and about to go join a bunch of other great volunteers to block walk for ELIZ.
So why don't we just go ahead and let's talk about ELIZ then for a second, because I think this is important. Why is she so important, and why is this race, and why did you decide to get involved with her specifically?
So I'll begin with ELIZ herself, and you know her from block walking for her and interviewing her. But here's somebody who is extraordinarily empathetic, is beyond radiating that energy and being so fired up and psyched for what she's doing. She also really loves to listen to people. So I've been block walking with her. We'll knock on a door. She'll introduce herself. And then she says, tell me what's important to you, Ryan, and I'll just sit back and listen. And she does. And that's a beautiful gift. And not only do you want that in a candidate, you really need that in an elected leader, right? You want them to know what's on your mind, what your expectations are, so that they can deliver to them and so they can represent you effectively. She's from the district. Her dad was and actually still is in the oil and gas industry. I mean, I think working some of the tougher jobs that have powered literally America for our entire lives. So she understands where people work and where they are. And in fact, Dan, who hosted you and me at his house for breakfast, and it's where we'd convene the block walks, he works on an oil rig offshore. And so he spends 2 weeks offshore, 2 weeks back onshore. These are her constituents who we don't have to assume are Republican or conservative or wouldn't vote for a Democrat. We don't have to assume that because we talk to them, we listen to them, and we find out that guy working on the oil rig cares just as much about climate change as anyone else. And he wants to see us make a speedy transition to non-carbon-based fuel. And ELIZ is going to carry his voice into the state legislature. She'll work on gun violence. She'll work on support for our public school educators. So I just love her. And then when you look at her, as you pull up and see the broader context, if we win this race in a special election in a district that's never been represented by a Republican ever, it will be a shot across the bow. It will be a seismic event in Texas politics, and it will also help create the momentum to win the additional 8 seats we need to take a majority in the state house. We won 12 seats last time in 2018. We only need to pick up 9 more. And the great news is, all of us working on that Beto for Senate campaign in 2018, we won 9 of those seats. We got more votes in those districts than Ted Cruz did, even though the Democratic nominee for the state rep in those districts did not prevail. So we've done it before. We know we can do it again. And if we do that, we end the racist gerrymandering that exists in Texas. We have a majority that's going to focus on our priorities and represent our values and our interests. And again, the holy grail, in my opinion, in American politics in the year 2020 is the 38 electoral college votes in Texas. If you can win those, not only have you won the 2020 election, not only have you put Donald Trump away forever, don't have to worry about the guy because it's an unequivocal result to an election. We'll win the popular vote, but we will win resoundingly the electoral college if we win Texas. It forever changes the electoral landscape in the United States going forward. You now will have a majority in Congress, a majority in the Senate, and someone in the White House who represents this country's interests. And Texas can play that role. And so it's all connected, right? The state house is connected to the congressional district, which is connected to the U.S. Senate race, which is connected to the presidential race. And why not start at the smallest, most important component part, which is this state house race? And this is the first one. It's on January 28th, so coming up really, really soon.
So ELIZ is the first one. Who's next? What's your future plans with this?
There are so many amazing candidates. So there's a woman that I met in the Senate race named Elisa Simmons. She was the head of the Tarrant County NAACP. And, man, she just opened my mind to some things that I didn't understand, frankly, as a white guy in Texas, and because I'm not from Tarrant County, where she is. Think Arlington and Fort Worth. For example, Arlington, city she lives in, that she wants to represent in the state house, largest city in the United States of America without a mass transit system. Now, was that just a failure of planning? Was it because we like cars more than buses? It's actually more perverse than that. It was because the city fathers back in the day did not want black and brown people in their communities. What's the best way to stop them from coming in? Make sure that there's no bus service that they can use. So that's just an example of one thing that Elisa shared with me the first time I met her. She's now stepping up to run for the state house, and so she'll be a candidate. We'll get behind. Different part of the state than you and I are in right now. We're in southeast Texas. That is in North Texas. But we'll take this whole caravan up there.
Oh, yeah. It's a 5-hour drive. That's what the road warriors do. We get in the
that's right.
Get in the car and drive.
So, and I have, beyond knocking on doors, which is so important, I just have a ton of fun connecting with people. And you got to see that, right? Like we all had beers on Saturday night. We had beers on Sunday night. We had beers on Friday night. Not so many beers that we couldn't wake up and be at an 8 a.m. block walk the next day.
A few people might have been hungover, but we'll leave them
alone. Some people perform better with a little hair of the dog.
Yes.
But no, it was really fun. And I got to tell you, I was telling Cynthia this as we were driving in today. I was like, I'm really happy. I didn't expect to be this happy this soon after having to drop out of the presidential race.
You seem more energized and energetic, and absolutely.
Well, and also I'll tell you this, schedule-wise, like we can sit down with you and hang out and have a real conversation. We can go to this next event that I hope you're going to join us at, where we welcome all of our volunteers, especially those who've driven in from out of town or flown in from out of town. And we can just be with them. And when you're a candidate, it's like, hey, we can do 30 minutes at this thing, and then we got to go to this thing over here, and then we got to get you back to this thing because you got to make some fundraising calls, and we got to get you to the next thing, or then we're flying to Detroit. No, we're just going to focus on this one race. We're going to be in Texas. We're going to be with our friends and our family members, and we're going to enjoy ourselves, and we're going to do something great for democracy.
So just one more question about the Powered by People. I know a lot of your supporters, especially from the presidential race, weren't from the state, and they're out of state. And actually, Chris likes to remind me, my co-host likes to remind me frequently that every single person you campaigned for in Virginia won their election, and that was one of the reasons why Virginia turned blue. So, any idea of taking this on the road and maybe getting involved in other people?
I think Chris came to one of the events we had for one of the candidates. Yeah, so he saw it, and it was actually in part being in the Commonwealth and being with some of those candidates where I realized that's the front line of democracy. That's the front line of what's happening in 2020. That was in 2019, and we said this thing at the event. Chris was at, look, the road to 2020 runs through 2019. The road to the White House runs through the Commonwealth. The same is true for what we're trying to do in Texas. The road to what we want to achieve runs through Fort Bend County right now. So, no, this is the focus. This is the focus, is getting this done. And actually, if Cynthia would give me this, I want your listeners to know that there were 400 block walkers who came in and block walked Saturday and or Sunday. You were one of those 400, and you were tied for 8th in number of doors knocked on. You knocked on 175
I had some
doors.
Help. I had
some
help.
I don't know who you want to give the credit to, but you were 8th, and that's really impressive in a field of 400. So we have this. Here, I'll open this up.
Oh, awesome.
We had these made a long time ago. These are a relic from a campaign from long ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
But they're a collector's item because they were last made 3 years ago. So now you have them.
I got it.
Yeah. So
I'll hold on to that.
This is a Beto for Texas.
I am 100%
stainless steel water bottle, so that you never have to buy another plastic bottle again.
Yeah. Taking a picture. This makes great podcast.
Yeah. So we wanted you to have this. And then, are you going to be able to join us tonight?
I will.
Okay.
I will. Just a couple questions. I have a few fun ones from the audience.
Go for it. Yeah.
So, probably this is the question that has the most potential to get you in trouble.
Okay.
You said that Cory Booker would play you in a Lifetime biopic of yourself.
Yeah.
Who would play Amy?
Ooh. Rosario Dawson, probably.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good one. Favorite Misfits song?
Okay, so my favorite album, I know this is not what you asked me, my favorite Misfits album is Walk Among Us. Broken Bodies in a Death Rock Dance Hall. I remember that line. Nike A Go Go. brains for dinner, brains for lunch, brains for breakfast, brains for brunch. Brains are all we ever eat. Why can't we have some blood? I remember those lines. The Misfits, that Walk Among Us album, which I had on cassette, I wore out. I listened to that probably every single day of high school. Vampira, they're all so good. Glenn Danzig is a genius. I'll just have to leave you with the album Walk Among Us.
Okay, we'll just go that. We'll take that. So you're a reader. Do you read one book at a time or like a stack of books at a time?
Such a good question. I'm reading 2 books right now,
Okay.
to your point. One is The British Are Coming, which is a history of the American Revolution, and it's really interesting to me. Picking up details I didn't know, like in the South, many of the militias that engaged the British loyalists and the British Army, these bold American patriots, were formed in part to keep slaves down in the South and to be prepared in case there was a slave insurrection. Didn't know that part of American history. And then I'm concurrently reading a book about the Korean War. I think it's called The Reservoir. And it's Hampton Sides, I think, is the author. I hope I'm getting that right. Okay. And that's fascinating too. You're learning about Douglas MacArthur and what kind of a blowhard he was, and these rash decisions he was making, and some of which worked out, like the amphibious assault at Incheon, and then some of which did not, which is pushing up all the way to the Chinese border, not realizing that hundreds of thousands of Chinese would soon be streaming back down. And you also learn about General Oliver Smith, who is commander of the First Division of the Marines, who's working under MacArthur and under General Almond, and is much more reserved and much more meticulous, much more thoughtful, and was essential in actually pulling off much of what we needed to do. So those are 2 really interesting books that I'm reading right now. So how about you? What's on your list right now?
Honestly, I listen to mostly audiobooks and podcasts right now. I have a long drive between Galveston and downtown Houston, so I can make that commute every day.
Yeah.
So I generally listen to podcasts more than anything else, and that's generally most of my things. I'll listen to historical podcasts. Honestly, more than anything, I'll listen to my Eagles podcast. I'm an Eagles fan, so I have I have to keep up with that. Yeah.
What Eagles song do I need to listen to?
No, Eagles, the football team.
Oh, I thought this was a podcast about the Eagles.
No.
Topanga Canyon.
No,
Hotel California.
I am not a new
start an Eagles podcast about the band.
I'm sure
there
probably is one out there. I wouldn't be surprised. It's a big podcast universe.
How will the Eagles do next year? The football team now switching.
I don't know. Depends on how we're currently in the process of searching for offensive coordinators. So we'll see how that turns out. I think it's going to be a rebuilding year. Yeah. Maybe not a complete rebuilding year, but I think it'll be
there's some
kind
work
of
to
reset.
do.
Yeah, kind of a reset year, I should say.
We have really good friends who live a block away, the Gallinars, and they're big Eagles fans.
Oh, well, Eagles fans then.
Rabid.
Yes, very much.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, appreciate it. We'll see you over there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for that enthusiasm, Ryan, as we led into that.
Well, see, now that's when you did the double. See, you did the double introduction earlier, so now I had to do the double introduction.
Right on, righteous. Let's go. So, thank you. First and foremost, thank you, Beto, and thank you, Amatola, for coming on and giving us these interviews. We have a lot of fun doing this, and this is the 25th episode, so it's super, super cool that we got Beto on for this one. For all of our listeners out there, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at look2 Beto Days, or Instagram at looking ahead to Beto Days.
At our website.
Or at our website, looking ahead to betodays.com. Find us there, message us if you have something you want to talk about. Let us know. Maybe we can get you on the show and have a discussion. But for now, you guys need to keep volunteering, keep donating, keep getting out and getting active, and keep on looking ahead to Beto Days.